It was exactly 5 years ago today that I was elected as your Member of Parliament. I'm really proud to represent not only the place where I was born, but also where I live. And the next couple of minutes, I want to tell you about 50 things that I've done to make Plymouth a better place over the last 5 years. I've helped secure £1.6 million returned to constituents in Plymouth through overpaid taxes, denied welfare, child benefit support and more. That's my team working hard. We've dealt with 30,000 cases. That's people getting in touch with my office asking for support. We've secured £1.8 million to help the communities of Keyham and Ford after the shooting, providing extra police support, mental health support and support for our young people. We secured Plymouth Sound as the UK's first ever national marine park and got 10 million quid from the National Lottery, which will help create 500 jobs. I proposed Keyham's law in Parliament to change our nation's gun laws to the better and get rid of pump action shotguns from our streets. We've got the government to link medical records to applications for firearms licences to help prevent a tragedy like Keyham ever happening again. I successfully campaigned for a £13 million super health hub on the Colin Campbell Court car park that will have a new GP surgeries, dental provision, social care and much more. Working cross-party, we helped save 400 jobs at the Barden factory. I have never hired a family member to work in my parliamentary office, and I'm the only Plymouth MP to refuse to employ family members. I became the first Plymouth MP to host regular Facebook Lives, giving you an opportunity to ask questions directly to me. I'm the first ever Plymouth MP to have a walk-in office in Plymouth City Centre. I've spoken in Parliament over 1,000 times, 1,070 times over the last 5 years. I've mentioned Plymouth in 290 of those debates, more than all other Plymouth MPs combined. I've called on Plymouth City Council to boost street lighting and reverse their stupid idea of getting rid of a third of our city's bus shelters. That will help address the epidemic of violence against women and girls. I've convinced the government to pay to take down the dangerous cladding on the 3 Mount Wise tower blocks after the Grenfell Tower tragedy, securing over £10 million worth of funding for that work. I changed the law to ensure that after Vanessa George's release, that no future predatory child abuser will be released if they've taken pictures of children and refused to name the children involved in those pictures. I helped save HMS Albion and HMS Bulwark from further Tory defence cuts. I led the effort to convince the government to base the Type 26 frigates here in Devonport. I've backed the successful funding bid for the regeneration of the Civic Centre and the Guildhall Square. I've helped get Live Well staff a pay rise. I persuaded the Church of Scientology to help clean up the mess around the Royal Fleet Club in Devonport. I launched the campaign for a Nancy Astor statue. I've launched 4 editions of the Plymouth White Papers. You can read them on my website. And I've campaigned for Plymouth's old nuclear submarines to be recycled, not just sitting there rotting in our dockyard. I launched my Buildings at Risk list, showing the 10 iconic Plymouth buildings that need a bit more love, challenging the owners to repair, invest in those buildings or sell them to someone who will. We've helped hundreds of British nationals fleeing Afghanistan. I launched the campaign to designate Firestone Bay and Devil's Point as an official bathing water. I launched the First Homes Not Second Homes campaign to make sure that every West Country family has a decent place to live. We started a COVID memorial quilt to remember those people we lost during the pandemic and to thank all those key workers who did so much for us throughout that very difficult time. Working with Labour councillors, we managed to secure a new crossing and a 20-mile-an-hour zone in the Lara Narrows. I backed the Waspy campaign vocally. I campaigned in Parliament for safe standing, including at Argyle. Helped support the campaign to get CCTV installed in Stoke Village, working with our brilliant Labour local councillors there. I've campaigned relentlessly for Plymouth's fishing community. I've raised concerns on behalf of fishers that the government's catch-up is needless homegrown bureaucracy that's making it harder for Plymouth fishermen to earn a decent income. During the pandemic, I helped set up Plymouth Labour Community Action, working with volunteers to ensure that prescriptions were collected and delivered, that people got the food they needed when the lockdown restrictions were introduced. I've helped work with supermarkets, including Sainsbury's, to make sure that they're supporting our emergency food provision in our city, making donations of not only food, but cash as well. Working with Jeremy Gosling, successfully opposed the proposals for a hideously large mobile phone mast in the middle of Peveril. I've welcomed dozens of Plymouth school groups to Parliament, giving them a taster of Westminster and encouraging everyone, if you want to make a difference, get involved. We've helped get a bit of the A38 resurfaced, and I'm putting more pressure to make sure that we get decent noise barriers along the A38. Got seal safety signs installed at Devil's Point. I was one of the first MPs to call for Parliament to declare a climate emergency. I've held a dozen pastries and politics events, round table events where people can discuss deep, important issues in our city, ranging from sexual health, mental health, violence against women and girls, all the way through to cycling and transport improvements. Working with Crispin Berthy, we helped light up Charles Church. Working with Devonport High School for Boys, we managed to secure the transfer of ownership of the gatehouse from Western Power Distribution back to the school. So the school now has a wonderful new reception right at their gate. And I've campaigned with Stoke's Labour councillors for the restoration of the postbox in Stoke Village. And I've campaigned relentlessly to stop the government authorising bee-killing pesticides. As Plymouth's first ever out MP, I've been campaigning to make sure that wherever you are, whoever you love, you feel safe and secure in our city. I've relentlessly called for Plymouth to get its fair share funding for education, health, transport and police, including on Plymouth's dental crisis. And finally, as a proud Janner, I've championed our brilliant city every day since being elected. We live in a wonderful part of the world. It really is so very special. But Plymouth could be so much better if we just got our fair share. The campaign on many of those issues and more will continue. Thank you so much for your support over the last 5 years. Thank you very much, Plymouth. See you soon.